What's up, fam? What's up, Rev Gens? So, I want to talk a little bit about the first phase of the M.A.N sales system. That is maneuver. What does that mean? Really, really simple. Very, very, very obvious. Sometimes gets overlooked. How do you maneuver yourself to make a sale? So, for you business owners out there, that literally comes back to your marketing. What is the main message? What is the value prop? What is your shtick to get the sales? Why are they buying from you? Salespeople, when you speak to someone on the phone, you meet them in person. If you met them at the dealership, they come to the office if you're that lucky, or if you have to go do it online. What is that sales process like, and where do you position yourself in the client's mind so that you can make the sale? So I want to talk a little bit about that today. I'm going to use some examples of in-home selling because that's my preferred, but I'm going to touch on some e-commerce and some over-the-phone stuff as well. So one of the things I always like to talk to people about, particularly when they start selling, like I sell insurance, what I always like to talk about is when you walk into someone's home, where you sit, as something as trivial as that, where you position yourself in their home will dictate the importance to this person of this meeting. How so, Nick? How is that even possible? I'll give you an example. If you walk into Miss Betty's house and you sit down on the couch with her, it's much more casual. It doesn't feel like, oh, we're getting ready to do some business. We're not going to talk about something important. It almost kind of gives it a little bit of a less than tone. Or when I say, hey, Miss Betty, I need a little bit of area spread out. Let's sit at the table. Number one, I've taken control. I've got her to do something for me, which is great. And number three, I've made it very clear that we're sitting at a table and business is conducted at tables. Particularly in my field, I deal with older folks. They're used to this. Kitchen table is where, business and important discussions happen. That's where they talk to their family. It's where they meet people. It's very, very common. So I've now positioned myself in a little bit more of a power spot, a little bit more in charge and in command of the conversation. I've also made it very clear that I'm here to do business because that's why you're there. Building a relationship is unbelievably important. I'm not denying that, but you need to make it clear why you're there. What is your intent? Why are you there? Same thing when you go on the phone. If you don't clearly announce who you are and why you're calling, most people will either hang up or they, half the time, if they're seniors, they may think you're like an old friend and just want to powwow. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not going to get deals sold. You also don't want to hit people with, hey, how you doing? You don't want to talk real fast. You don't want to seem anxious because that gives you, again, positions you as like the used car salesman, positions you in a less than great spot. Same thing with your e-commerce. You don't ever want to have an ad or marketing that feels kind of scammy or feels, it doesn't seem right. That's why I always recommend if you're just selling online, Amazon basically took this idea to the maximum capacity. They sell based on review. And when I say that, 99% of you out there will have an Amazon account. You'll understand what Prime is, and you understand what the star ratings are. Most people only buy products with high star ratings. It is the exact same thing if you're selling an independent product or your own product. You always want to lead with those testimonials. It instantly builds rapport. It instantly builds comfort. You don't want to have yourself constantly telling the person how great you are. You want to have an outside resource, particularly if you're doing this online where there is no face-to-face interaction. You're not talking to them on the phone. You're not answering their questions. They have to make this decision completely based on what they see. So when I make a purchase, I want to see positive reviews. That 5-star review really makes me feel comfortable to give them money. That's just maneuvering. That's all that is. Put yourself in the position to make the sale. And so many salespeople, they don't register this. They don't, for whatever reason, they don't think this through. They just go right in and they're either a bull in a china shop or they're very timid, meaning they don't get to the point. They don't speak clearly and candidly. They're not brutally honest with the people they're talking to. And there is always a time and place for those things. But most of the time, they're off tune. They're not in the same social calibration of the people they're talking to. So when you get that interaction, they don't know where you're coming from. They don't get your perspective. you have maneuvered incorrectly if that happens. There is simple ways to adjust this. You can recalibrate. So one of the things I always like to say is when you're talking to a person, particularly in person, that's why I like in-home sales. One of my absolute favorite types of way to sell is because I can read that person and I can see, okay, they're responding to what I'm talking about. They're opening up their posture, they're relaxing a little bit, they got a smile, they're feeling good. So they're understanding what I'm talking about and they're starting to mirror me a little bit. People will automatically do this because they feel comfortable with you. Same thing when you're on the phone. You'll be able to hear it kind of in their voice if they're excited, if they're interested. You don't want to have, I always call monotone Mary. Yeah, no, okay, great, sure, why not? Let's talk. You don't really want to have this person on the phone with you because it's hard to gauge their interest level. And yes, if they're going through the process, absolutely sell them the product. But don't be surprised if they cancel it the next day because they weren't that excited about it. They just wanted someone to talk to, or they didn't know what you were talking about, so they just were saying yes. I know that sounds ludicrous. I have talked to many people on the phone and sold things that the whole time I was like, I can't tell if this person's genuinely interested or not, but they're giving me their credit card. So, okay, we're gonna do it. You got to worry about those situations, but always try to, like I said, position yourself, maneuver in a way that gets you in a great spot to make the sale. I always like to make the analogy is kind of like fishing. You can't catch big fish unless you're in an area where big fish live. Does that make sense? If you're in a little local pond and no one's ever caught a fish bigger than this, you aren't going to catch a fish that's bigger than the screen because they don't live there. Position yourself in the right spots. That will make all the difference in your sales career. So that's phase one, my Rev Gens, maneuver. If you have more questions about it, subscribe below, schedule a call. I'll go through it with you for your specific industry, your specific sale type. I know I touched on some stuff briefly, but I will be able to go into specifics and coach you up on all that stuff. So get out there and sell something. It's good for you.